In the winter of 1973, a woman worked quietly as a cocktail waitress in a small New York City bar. Unnoticed by many, her presence was a far cry from the glamorous life she once led. This woman, known to the world as Veronica Lake, was once Hollywood's most captivating star, her signature peekaboo hairstyle a symbol of 1940s allure. Yet here she was, a forgotten icon serving drinks, her story lost in the echoes of her past glory. Veronica Lake's journey from Hollywood's golden screens to the dim corners of a bar is a tale wrapped in mystery and tragedy. It's a story that delves deep into the heart of fame's fleeting nature and the hidden struggles of those who live in its shadow. How did this screen siren, once the epitome of glamour, find herself in such a starkly different world? What series of events led to her dramatic fall from grace, and what can her story tell us about the price of fame? This is not just the story of a Hollywood starlet. It's a narrative that explores the darker side of celebrity and the often unseen battles faced by those in the limelight. The disturbing truth behind Veronica Lake's Untimely Demise is a journey through the highs and lows of stardom, a journey that reveals the fragile nature of success and the human cost of living under the constant gaze of the public eye. The Enigma of Veronica. Veronica Lake, born as Constance Frances Marie Ockelman, was an enigma from the very start. Her journey to stardom began in Brooklyn, New York, where she was born on November 14, 1922. The daughter of a seaman and an aspiring actress, Veronica's early life was marked by frequent moves and a growing fascination with the performing arts. This chapter delves into her formative years, exploring the roots of her enigmatic persona. From a young age, Veronica showed a natural flair for the dramatic. Her mother, who harbored her own theatrical ambitions, encouraged this passion. However, Veronica's childhood was not one of unbridled joy. The untimely death of her father in a tragic explosion on an oil ship cast a shadow over her early years. This loss would become one of the many hardships she faced, shaping her resilient yet complex character. Despite these early challenges, Veronica's determination to succeed in the entertainment industry never wavered. Her family's relocation to Miami, Florida, became a turning point. Here, she attended Miami High School and began to seriously pursue acting. Her striking looks and natural talent quickly caught the attention of teachers and classmates alike. It was during these formative years that the foundation of her future stardom was laid. Veronica's journey to Hollywood began with a beauty pageant. After winning the title of Miss Miami, she caught the eye of a visiting talent scout. This chance encounter opened the door to a screen test with RKO Pictures, a major Hollywood studio at the time. The test was a success, and soon the young starlet found herself on the brink of a new life in the glittering world of Hollywood. Upon arriving in Hollywood, Veronica faced the daunting task of carving out a place for herself in an industry known for its competitiveness and glamour. She started with minor roles, gradually making her mark. Her unique look, characterized by her blonde hair falling seductively over one eye, became her trademark. This peekaboo hairstyle not only set her apart but also captured the imagination of the public. It was a look that would become synonymous with Veronica Lake, and one that played a significant role in her rise to fame. However, Veronica's path to stardom was not without its hurdles. The early years in Hollywood tested her resolve, with challenges ranging from typecasting to the high demands of studio life. Yet, her perseverance and undeniable talent shone through. She soon landed roles that showcased her range as an actress, moving beyond the stereotypical blonde bombshell image. Living through Hollywood illusions. The glitz and glamour of Hollywood in the 1940s was a world of stark contrasts, and Veronica Lake was at its epicenter. Her rise to fame coincided with a tumultuous era in Hollywood, marked by the glimmer of silver screens and the shadows of a world at war. This period in Veronica's life was a whirlwind of success and struggle as she navigated the complex landscape of fame. Veronica's breakthrough role came in the 1941 film I Wanted Wings. Her performance, coupled with her distinctive hairstyle, captivated audiences and critics alike. This role catapulted her to stardom, establishing her as a major box office draw. Her on-screen persona, often portraying strong, independent women, resonated with the public. Veronica became an icon of the era, her image gracing magazine covers and movie posters. However, the reality of life in Hollywood was far from the perfection portrayed on screen. Veronica's rapid ascent brought with it immense pressure. The film industry, with its demanding schedules and public scrutiny, began to take a toll on her. She was constantly under the watchful eye of the studio, which meticulously managed her image and career. This control extended to her personal life, with studio executives often dictating her choices. Despite these challenges, Veronica continued to deliver memorable performances. Her roles in films like Sullivan's Travels and The Glass Key showcased her versatility as an actress. She became known for her ability to bring depth and nuance to her characters, a talent that set her apart in an industry often criticized for its superficiality. Yet, behind the scenes, Veronica was struggling. The constant pressure to maintain her image and the relentless pace of work began to affect her health and well-being. She started to develop a reputation for being difficult on set, a label that would haunt her career. The industry's harsh spotlight amplified her personal issues, making them fodder for the gossip columns. This period of Veronica's life was a paradoxical mix of professional triumphs and personal challenges. Her experiences in Hollywood during these years were reflective of the broader realities of the film industry. It was a world where illusion and reality were often indistinguishable, and where the price of fame could be steep. As Veronica's career progressed, the cracks in the facade began to show. The strain of living up to Hollywood's expectations was becoming increasingly evident. Her story at this point is a cautionary tale of the pitfalls of fame, a reminder of the human cost behind the glittering images of the silver screen. Glamour's dark side. As Veronica Lake's star continued to rise in Hollywood, the darker aspects of fame began to cast a long shadow over her life. The early 1940s saw her at the peak of her career, yet beneath the surface, a storm was brewing. The pressures of stardom, combined with personal challenges, led to a tumultuous phase in Veronica's life, marked by struggles that were largely hidden from the public eye. Veronica's image as a glamorous Hollywood icon was in stark contrast to her growing personal turmoil. Her marriage to art director John S. Detley was falling apart, leading to a divorce in 1943. This personal setback was compounded by the stress of her career, the relentless pace of filming, public appearances, and the demands of being constantly in the spotlight began to take a toll on her mental and physical health. During this time, Veronica's behavior on set became increasingly erratic. Reports of lateness, unpreparedness, and conflicts with directors and co-stars started to emerge. These incidents were often downplayed by the studio's publicity machine, but they signaled deeper issues. Veronica was struggling with alcoholism, a battle that would become a defining struggle in her life. The contrast between Veronica's public persona and her private struggles was emblematic of the era's Hollywood culture. The industry often masked the personal difficulties of its stars, presenting a facade of perfection to the public. For Veronica, this meant that while her films were celebrated, her personal challenges were largely ignored or hidden, exacerbating her sense of isolation. Her roles during this period, such as in This Gun for Hire and The Blue Dahlia, continued to cement her status as a leading lady. However, the strain was evident. The glamour of her on-screen appearances belied the reality of her off-screen life, where she was grappling with a crumbling personal world and an industry that was both the source of her fame and the catalyst for her decline. An icon's decline. In the midst of personal turmoil and a demanding career, Veronica Lake took on a role that diverged from her typical screen persona, contributing to the World War II effort in a unique way. The early 1940s were not only a time of personal struggle for Veronica, but also a period when the world was engulfed in war. Her involvement in the war effort marked a significant shift in her public image and brought to light a different aspect of her character. Veronica's iconic peekaboo hairstyle, while a symbol of glamour, posed an unexpected problem during the war. Women working in factories for the war effort emulated her style, which led to accidents when their hair got caught in machinery. In response, Veronica changed her hairstyle in a widely publicized event, promoting safety for women in the workforce. This act, though seemingly small, was a significant gesture that demonstrated her willingness to support the war effort and adapt her image for a greater cause. Beyond changing her hairstyle, Veronica also participated actively in war bond drives, using her star power to help raise funds for the war. She toured the United States, appearing at events and rallies, encouraging Americans to contribute to the cause. These activities showed a different side of Veronica, one that was engaged with the world beyond Hollywood and willing to use her fame for a meaningful purpose. However, the shift in her public activities did little to alleviate her personal struggles. The war years were a time of contradiction for Veronica. While she was publicly contributing to a significant global cause, privately, she continued to battle her personal demons. Her fight with alcoholism persisted, and her reputation in Hollywood began to suffer as a result of her off-screen behavior. This period in Veronica's life represents a complex interplay between her public image and private struggles. Her involvement in the war effort showcased her as more than just a film star, highlighting her awareness and responsiveness to the world around her. Yet, the contrast between her public contributions and personal challenges paints a picture of a woman caught between the demands of fame and the realities of her own life. Limelight hidden battles. As World War II drew to a close, Veronica Lake found herself navigating an increasingly challenging landscape in Hollywood. The post-war era brought changes to the film industry and to societal attitudes, which in turn affected Veronica's career. Her once celebrated image began to lose its luster, and she faced a series of professional setbacks that mirrored her personal struggles. The late 1940s marked a turning point in Veronica's career. The roles that once made her a household name were becoming scarce. The changing tastes of the post-war audience, coupled with Veronica's growing reputation for being difficult to work with, led to a decline in the quality and quantity of her film roles. She was no longer the top-billed star she had been during the war years, and this shift in her professional life was a source of frustration and disappointment for her. Veronica's personal life continued to be tumultuous during this time. Her second marriage to director Andre de Toth was fraught with difficulties. The couple had 2 children together, but their relationship was marked by instability and conflict. This personal unrest further impacted Veronica's ability to maintain her career in Hollywood. The film industry itself was undergoing significant changes in the late 1940s. The end of the studio system, the rise of television, and the shifting dynamics of American society all played a role in reshaping Hollywood. For stars like Veronica, who had risen to fame under the old system, adapting to these changes was challenging. The roles she was offered were increasingly limited, and her star power was waning. During this period, Veronica made a few notable film appearances, such as in The Blue Dahlia, 1946, but these were exceptions in a career that was clearly in decline. The contrast between her earlier success and her later struggles was stark, and it reflected the broader changes happening in Hollywood and American society. This phase of Veronica's life and career highlights the transient nature of fame and the challenges faced by actors in adapting to a changing industry. Her decline in Hollywood was not just a result of her personal issues, but also a reflection of the evolving landscape of the film industry in the post-war era. Fame's heavy toll. As the 1950s dawned, Veronica Lake's presence in Hollywood had significantly diminished. This period marked a departure from her life as a celebrated film star, leading her into a phase of relative obscurity. The shift away from the limelight was both a consequence of her dwindling career and a choice influenced by her personal circumstances. During this time, Veronica's public appearances became rare, and she took on fewer acting roles. The few roles she did accept were in smaller, less prominent productions, a far cry from the high-profile films of her heyday. This retreat from the spotlight was partly due to the limited opportunities available to her in Hollywood, but it also reflected a change in her personal priorities. Veronica's marriage to André de Toth ended in divorce in 1952, adding another layer of upheaval to her life. The end of her second marriage was a significant personal blow and contributed to her decision to step back from the Hollywood scene. She sought a quieter life, away from the scrutiny and pressures of the film industry. This period was also marked by financial difficulties for Veronica. The wealth and comfort she had enjoyed at the height of her career were no longer assured. She faced a series of financial setbacks, which further distanced her from the glamorous world she once inhabited. Despite these challenges, Veronica attempted to make a comeback in the late 1950s and early 1960s. She appeared in a few films and stage productions, but these efforts failed to reignite her career. The industry had moved on, and Veronica struggled to find a place in the new Hollywood landscape. The 1950s and early 1960s were a time of reflection and reevaluation for Veronica. Away from the glare of Hollywood, she lived a life that was markedly different from her years as a film icon. This phase of her life was a stark contrast to the fame and adulation she had once experienced, illustrating the fleeting nature of celebrity and the challenges faced by stars in maintaining their place in the ever-changing world of entertainment. The later years. In the later years of her life, Veronica Lake attempted a return to the public eye, seeking to recapture some of the fame she had enjoyed in her earlier years. This period was marked by a mix of nostalgia for her past glories and the harsh realities of her present circumstances. In the 1960s, Veronica made sporadic attempts to revive her acting career. She appeared in a few small film and television roles, but these were far from the significant parts she had once played. The industry that had once celebrated her now seemed indifferent, and her attempts at a comeback met with limited success. Despite the challenges, Veronica's return to the public eye did reignite interest in her earlier work. There was a renewed appreciation for her contributions to the film noir genre, and she gained a new audience among those who were discovering her films for the first time. This resurgence of interest provided a bittersweet reminder of her former status as a Hollywood icon. However, Veronica's personal life continued to be fraught with difficulties. She struggled with ongoing health issues, including her battle with alcoholism, which had plagued her for much of her adult life. These struggles were compounded by financial problems, as the wealth she had accumulated during her peak years had long since diminished. In 1966, Veronica published her autobiography, Veronica, the autobiography of Veronica Lake, which offered a candid look at her life and career. The book was an attempt to tell her story in her own words, addressing both her successes and her struggles. It provided a glimpse into the life of a woman who had experienced the highs and lows of fame in a rapidly changing industry. Veronica's later years were a time of reflection and occasional resurgence in the public consciousness. While she never regained the level of fame she had enjoyed in the 1940s, her efforts to return to acting and her candid autobiography helped to cement her legacy as a significant figure in Hollywood history. Her story, with its triumphs and tribulations, remains a poignant example of the ephemeral nature of fame and the enduring impact of the golden age of Hollywood. Veronica Lake's last days. The final chapter of Veronica Lake's life was marked by a quiet and unassuming existence, far removed from the glitz and glamour of her Hollywood heyday. Her last days were spent in relative obscurity, a stark contrast to the fame and adulation she once enjoyed. In the early 1970s, Veronica lived a modest life, having moved away from the Hollywood scene. She resided in various parts of the United States, including a period in the UK, where she sought a fresh start away from the memories and challenges of her past. Despite her efforts to reinvent herself, she continued to face personal and financial difficulties. Veronica's health, which had been compromised by years of alcohol abuse and mental health struggles, continued to decline. She was known to have had several hospitalizations during this period, and her once radiant appearance had faded, a physical manifestation of her internal battles. In 1973, Veronica made a brief return to the public eye with a role in the horror film Flesh Feast. This low-budget production was a far cry from the high-quality noir films that had made her famous. It was her last film appearance and did little to revive her career. Veronica's final years were spent away from the limelight, in a world very different from the one she had once dominated. She worked various jobs, including waitressing, a humbling turn for someone who had once been a major movie star. These jobs were a means of survival, as she had little financial support and no significant income from her acting career. Veronica Lake passed away on July 7, 1973, at the age of 50. Her death was attributed to acute hepatitis and acute kidney injury, conditions exacerbated by her long-standing alcoholism. The news of her passing was met with a mixture of sadness and nostalgia, as the public and the film industry remembered the star she once was. The story of Veronica Lake's final years is a poignant reminder of the transient nature of fame and the personal costs that often accompany a life in the spotlight. Her journey from Hollywood icon to a life of relative anonymity illustrates the unpredictable trajectory of a career in the entertainment industry and the enduring human struggles behind the facade of celebrity.